morning.
Morning.
A little better. Good morning.
Morning.
That's better. We like that better. We are going to have a good time this morning. First of all, can I take my jacket off? I promise that's all. A couple of things. We want to talk a little bit about the science and practice of disaster health. One of the things I need to know is how many of you are in medical school? How many are in nursing school? How many aren't in school? How many are faculty? Oh, you faculty? We really will have a good time today without the faculty. The first part of what we're going to do is talk. I have to bring it up again. I'm sorry. Talk a little bit about where all of this comes from. This project was started, that we're going to describe some and share with you today, was started following the earthquake in Armenia. And some of the things that we observed in subsequent disasters is that the responses were totally disorganized. And that much of what was done was helpful, and much of what was done may have been had negative effects on the affected population. But we seem to have an invasion of people who are trying to do well. At one time in Banda Aceh alone, there were over 400 non-governmental agencies that invaded your country. And the question is, what do all these people do? We don't know what they've done. But I just got instructions from the boss. And we're going to try and relax, and we're going to go through a lot of material. But you need to know that this material has been underway for many, many years now. And we're going to share with you some of the results and where we are. I think the first of our goal is to help you understand your role within disaster health. You need to know what is expected of you and what you should expect of yourself. And we'll talk some about that, but first we have to get some definitions. We're going to share with you 3 frameworks for understanding disaster and to kind of broaden your concepts about what disaster is all about. We want to underscore what needs to be done and understand your roles, and then we want to look at competencies and where they come from and where we stand with what you need to be able to do in time of disaster. So that's where we're coming from. I want to make sure that we understand we're talking about disaster medicine. And some of the nurses around the world have objected to us using the term medicine because they felt excluded from that. But that's not what we mean. When we talk about medicine, we're talking about all people that are involved in health responses and health preparations to meet a disaster. And we'll talk about that. So it includes public health personnel, docs, nurses, pharmacists, physical occupational therapists, laboratory staff, nursing assistants, respiratory therapists, administrators, even maintenance people all have a role. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about disaster medicine, so that you know. One of the things I think that's important to recognize is that the number of disasters tends to go up and vary a little bit around the world. This is information from the Center for Epidemiology Research and the Epidemiology of Disasters. And one of the things that becomes clear is what's happening is even though the frequency of disasters goes up, we're now beginning to level off and actually decrease the number of people killed from their injuries in disasters. So we've made some progress. We've made some progress. Not a great deal, but we've made some progress in where we're going. And this just gives you the total number of victims. I don't exactly know what this means. But if you get an idea, if you rank them by the number of people who were affected, we see that in China there were more than, in fact the number in actuality that I heard in the last several days was over 500 million people were displaced by the earthquake in Sichuan province of China. And they're now coming to the 5th year. Next year will be the 5th year. And then the earthquakes in India, the Philippines, and Thailand. And you get some idea of this is a pretty big problem. There are a lot of people that are injured. There are lots of things we have to do to make things better, because we're not going to be able to prevent some events from occurring, right? We're not going to be able to prevent the earthquake. It's going to happen regardless of what we do. We're not going to be able to prevent the tropical storm or the typhoon, no matter what we do. But can we do better, and can we have less people injured, and certainly less people who succumb to their injuries? So this is an example. And what I've done here is I've taken these 6 earthquakes and tried to look at what the usual reporting has been. And you get an idea here from the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. And by the way, it was an earthquake and tsunami, right? It was not just a tsunami. We really don't know how much of the damage was done by the earthquake and how much of the damage was done from the tsunami. And that's kind of difficult for us to get our arms around. But we know the magnitude using the Richter scale, moments of magnitude, was 9.3. So this is almost 10,000 times more power than the earthquake in Kashmir. We know that China was here, not even close to what they experienced in Aceh. And then Haiti, 7.0 and 8.8 in Chile, almost simultaneous, within 2 months of each other. And then the one in Japan was very, very close in magnitude to the one in the Indian Ocean. What we can't find reported very often is how long did the Earth shake? Because would you agree if it took a longer time, there's likely to be more damage? The earthquake in Aceh that related to the tsunami was 480 seconds, so it's about 8 minutes. The Earth shook for about 8 minutes. We don't know how long the Earth shook in Kashmir, at least I could not find the information. In China, it was about 1.5 minutes. In Haiti, it shook for 20 seconds. In Chile, it shook for 104 seconds, so almost 2 minutes. And yet we look at this in Haiti and the more severe earthquake in Chile, and then we can look at the number of people that were injured. And if we look at the depth of the earthquake, they differ substantially.